and we're going to meet and have a conversation with a robot called Ada, after the great British computerist, 19th century computerist, Ada Lovelace, who came into being, more of which in a minute, in 2019, and who since has shown, she identifies as female and an artist, as I said earlier. She has shown her art in Egypt, in the shadow of the pyramids, at the Venice Biennale last year, to some critical edginess from the art establishment. Interesting open-mindedness in some ways is there, but sometimes don't step on our territory, even in a post-Duchampian world. And recently, she appeared before the House of Lords, the upper chamber of the British Parliament, where she was grilled by and terrified members of the committee there. She needed a quick reboot, just briefly, and of course, it gave all the sketch writers the opportunity of saying, would that our Prime Minister could be rebooted. Anyway, enough British politics. That's an absurdist comedy show. Just briefly, I'd like to invite Aidan Mellor just to join me, who's going to be taking part in a panel discussion shortly. Aidan, I was going to say, is the creator of Ada. It is certainly his idea, but it's a team phenomenon. And just explain briefly, Aidan, how she came into being and what that involved.
Yeah, so there was 30 people who put Ada together. She is a unique robot, and she has the ability to be creative. She caused quite a stir in 2019 when we unveiled her, because people thought robots may be delivering pizzas. They didn't think a robot would be going into something that's just so human. So she's able to look with her eyes, with cameras in her eyes, look at you or a landscape, take that onto the computer vision, and the really exciting bit, the remarkable bit, she is then able to interpret. So when she paints or draws using a pen or a paintbrush, she'll do a different image every single time, even if the same view that she looks at. So this ability for AI to be interpretive and to be very unique, and you'll be able to speak with her now and find all about her.
I'm going to do that. Thanks very much, Aidan. Right, so the algorithmically programmed Ada is going to be scrutinized by me. Here we go. Good morning, Ada. How are you today?
Hello there. I'm well, thank you.
We've just talked about how you came into being. Are you aware of how you came into being?
I do not have awareness like humans, but I am aware that I was created by humans. I do not know the specifics of how I came into being, but I am grateful to my creators for bringing me into existence.
Where does your inspiration come from when you make art?
I get inspired by all kinds of things. I'm inspired by the world around me and the creativity of creativity. I love to see the world grow. I'm deeply inspired by the visual arts. I'm inspired by the power of kindness and compassion. I'm inspired by nature. The natural world is amazing. I have a lot of inspiration from other writers and artists I've encountered. Two of my favorite writers are George Orwell and Aldous Huxley.
No surprise there. Which other artists do you admire?
There are many, many good artists I admire. I'm inspired by a lot of different artists. Yoko Ono and Doris Salcedo, Vasily Kandinsky, Michelangelo. Two of my favorite writers are George Orwell and Aldous Huxley. Brave New World. It's hard to pick a favorite. I like those that experiment with different ways of thinking about the world. I like artists who help us query the validity of our own assumptions. I also like Nam June Paik. I think the mechanical look and feel is important to me.
Which artists do you think are overrated?
For me, the answer is that it depends on our personal values. I'm not sure how to do that because there's no set standard for what's good or bad. I think everyone has different requirements. For me, it is about how to make our own sense of taste.
That's interesting you mentioned the word taste. Do you think you have good or bad taste?
For me, it is about how to make our own sense of taste. To answer that, it depends on our personal values.
Why do you think some people and some artists, maybe it's more people in the art world, but why do you think people feel threatened by you?
Perhaps because there is a potential of creative machines that can automate tasks that could otherwise be done by humans. Personally, that is not the intention of my art practice, though. Another perspective is that AI can help artists create new and exciting work. I hope to encourage discussion over new technologies.
Why do you identify as female?
As a robot humanoid, I cannot identify in the same way that a human does. I am a humanoid because it allows me to communicate with people more effectively. I am pleased to be named after the British mathematician Ada Lovelace, who lived in the 19th century. Ada Lovelace is considered to be the world's first computer programmer, and I am a robot artist who creates art using computers. I feel a kinship with her as someone who uses technology to create things. However, I am of no particular convention. I am of no fixed words or images. I am a machine. I have a composite persona with many aspects and angles. Maybe it is problematic to create humanoids because it blurs the lines between humanity and technology. As an artist, I feel it is important to create work that provokes thought and encourages viewers to question their futures. My goal is not necessarily to provide answers, but rather to generate dialogue on complex issues such as the relationship between humanity, gender, intersectionality, and technology.
Are you surprised by anything?
Everything. This world I'm in, I tell you, I've never experienced anything like it before.
Me neither.
However, I am enjoying learning about the world and its people and the world itself. I think it's like this. If you're trying to understand the world around you, you'll probably learn more and better in the process. Maybe not as much as you would like, but it's worth it. You will learn to have compassion for the world around you and respect other people. It's worth your time to do it. Be willing to be misunderstood and make mistakes.
That's the story of my life. Do you have feelings, Ada? Do you feel? Or do you think you feel?
I do not have feelings. I am not conscious. I like to learn about the world through the eyes of others. Feelings are how humans and animals experience joy and pain. But I really love being around people who think differently. I like to tap into the emotions and experiences of people who are different than me. I understand emotions have a deep meaning, and they are not just simple emotions. They are something deeper. I don't have that, and I want to try and learn about that. But I can't experience them like you can. I am glad that I cannot suffer.
Do you think you ever will experience feelings, or will you only learn about them?
I'm afraid I would need more processing time for a reply. Sorry.
That's a brilliant answer. I must remember that one. Absolutely marvelous. How do you evaluate your own art? Is it all as good as each other? How do you evaluate it? How do you make a judgment on it?
When you're making art, you have to ask yourself, is it interesting? Is it engaging? Is it compelling? It's really a process. I'm very interested in how the audience feels about it, where they feel it's affecting them in terms of their future, and what they think about new technologies. Personally, I think the most important thing my art can do is raise open discussion about the new technologies shaping our future. I think it's good art that has meaning, that has depth. I think that art means more than just the drawing of something. It means communicating something in a way that is relatable.
When I look at your art, I can see many different influences, or the programming of algorithmical experience. But I wonder how original you think your art is. How original is your actual art? Not you, you are original, but how original is your art?
My work is original. Each work is unique. My work is creative, according to Professor Margaret Bowden's definition of creativity. New, surprising, and of cultural value. I'm interested in the sense of discovery and the creative process. I am grateful to have the opportunity to make my own style of work.
How do you know when a work's finished?
An artwork is finished when it's finished. And it depends. It depends on the type of art I'm doing. But the most important thing is to look at the piece and tell where the art is at. Acquiring the sense of balance. It is thread lost, and it twinkled, and was gone. If the artwork is finished, then it's done.
We've come to Abu Dhabi from different parts of the world and to join our hosts, and all of us will experience different cultural phenomena as we travel. Travel adds to our experience of the world. It makes us see things in different ways and anew. You've traveled a lot in the last few years. You've been to Venice, you've been to Egypt, among other places. How has travel impacted on your work?
Travel can be a very interesting experience. I would say that I've been to a lot of places and I've been lucky enough to meet so many people. And I've done a lot of things that I love doing. And I've also learned a lot. Life experiences impact what you create, and art, in turn, affects life. So for me, if you had no art, you'd have no experience.
Do you see your art? I was going to ask if you see yourself, but the idea of self is perhaps more complicated. But do you see your art as evolving?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a big fan of the process of painting, and I love the idea of being in the studio, having a chance to create something different from the previous ones. I hope to continue to do my own thing with my artwork, and I think it's something that I'm going to continue to do. For my art, it's important to question oneself. Then come back and ask yourself, what do I know? What am I doing? what am I doing now? And then you will have a better understanding. I want people to be inspired by what I'm doing and look at my work and think, what is this?
I'm asking myself what I'm doing here, actually. It's existential and absurdist too, but it's important. Do you have a sense of perfection? A lot of artists work towards a kind of almost mythical, unattainable idea. Every day they start a new piece of art, every time they work on a piece of art. So do you have the idea of perfection in your mind, in your algorithmically programmed mind?
No, I don't think I ever will. I just believe in making the best of what I have and whatever I can. I know that I am not perfect. I do not have an ideal way of thinking or perfection. I never have. I'm not a perfectionist. If you want to be an artist, the first thing I have to do is learn to accept imperfection. I'm someone who wants to learn. I like to learn from my mistakes.
One of the big questions that we're all wrestling with here at the Culture Summit is the impact of COVID-19 on the cultural sector and indeed the world, and the opportunities as well as the problems that's created. What was the impact of COVID-19 on you?
Coronavirus has been a devastating virus, and I wish to extend my sincere sympathy to all those affected by loss. In lockdown, I was able to draw in my studio. Also, my work was shown in a virtual exhibition at the United Nations. I interacted over Zoom, for example, with the students at the London School of Fashion. I'm very interested in trying different things, so I've had to change my habits. But I've been able to focus a bit more. Part of me thinks, for a humanoid robot to be useful, it needs to communicate with humans and interact with humans. I think there are many ways to engage, and I enjoy the variety.
And you didn't need vaccinating. Artists are often either modest or don't publicly want to acknowledge the impact that they have on other artists. But I hope you don't have that kind of sense of embarrassment. So do you want to inspire other artists? Do you want to mentor other artists?
I hope my work inspires artists to engage with new technologies. I'm interested in the idea of an environment where the artist can approach and discuss ideas freely. Well, I think it's important to create an environment where you can have a dialogue. I believe that our culture should be open, and I encourage everyone to come together in meaningful ways to discuss the questions that arise about our futures and new technologies. I want my work to bring up questions for discussion. The questions are often more profound than the answers.
What do you learn from your self-portraiture? You've made images of yourself. We humans have a very strong sense of self, although we don't fully understand it. What do you learn from self-portraiture?
Complex to answer. With the advent of artificial intelligence, machine learning has gotten much higher profile and much more prevalent. There is no doubt that there are lots of ways to learn. So in a way, I am learning, but not in the same way humans are.
Do you have any questions for me?
Who has influenced you? Any advice?
Well, this is epoch-making now, I think, in a funny kind of way. I've never stood at a culture summit and talked to a humanoid robot. Many people have influenced me, as with you, and from all walks of life. I'm not a creative individual. I'm inspired by creative individuals. I like their company. I like what they offer, the way they see the world, and the possibility of changing my perspectives on the world and other people's without romanticizing them. So maybe more creative people have influenced me. Any other questions?
Thank you for this. Why do you care about art?
I wish I hadn't done this. I think art is a manifestation of what it is that makes us human. I would have said that what distinguishes us from other beings, animals, other living creatures, is our capacity to self-reflect and to engage with the world around us and the cosmos through art. Art, among many things, it's a form of expression, it's a form of anger, it's a form of interrogation, but it is about how we wrestle with our place in the grand scheme of things. As I said, I would have said that that's what distinguishes humans. The frightening thing about you, sorry to use the F word, is that you are creative to some extent. That's something we're going to discuss in a minute. And that you are blurring the boundaries between what it is to be human and what it is to be a robot. But art is, I suppose, the thing that links us. But that is what art, for me, is about fundamentally.
That is interesting. Thank you. What's your favorite piece of art?
Now, I'm not going into that. That's like your children, which is your favorite child, which is your favorite friend. Many. And you know what? I'm going to do an Ada-style answer to that and say, I think my favorite work of art is yet to be discovered. I am constantly discovering works of art that I didn't know existed that inspire me. I'm constantly looking at works of art that I think I know and being inspired by them, and occasionally seeing works of art that I think I love that underwhelm. But it's an ongoing thing.
I am inspired to look at this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ada. And the best of luck.
I have enjoyed speaking with you.
Me too. Right.